Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fam, fantasy baseball players. It is pretty much the All-Star break. I think we have one game finishing up that was in a delay today that is now finishing up. But once that game is ended, we are officially in the All-Star break, and we are about the midway point, a little past the midway point. And it's time to check in on what has happened in the first half. Pierre is going to bring us his fantasy All-Stars for the first half of the season. Now, Pierre, do you want to let the people know this isn't just who's been at the best at each position, because that's obvious. Anybody can do that. This is who are the All-Stars based on not only how good they've been, but where you drafted them in comparison to other players. So are you ready to let the world know who the 2025 Fantasy All-Star team is?
Absolutely ready for the what's and the come on. And you forgot about everybody loves lists but hates lists too, right?
Right.
Rankings. You're like, you want to see them so you can criticize them. That's fine. Look, there's a lot of players that could have made this list. Keep in mind what I'm going for here. I'm not going to tell you who the best player at each position is because that would be a waste of time. All right. Best values in fantasy, best player in terms of how you might acquire them for draft or through even waiver wire or buy low or whatever it is. So kind of give these guys their due that if you had them somehow, however you got them in your fantasy team, you're loving it.
All right. Now I'm going to go a little out of order from the list you have on here because who really wants to talk about boring pitchers at the end? Let's just get this out of the way. Let's get it out of the way. All right. The three starting pitchers on the 2025 Fantasy All-Star team are.
So starting pitcher, again, Screwball Skeens and Wheeler, too obvious. And there's no way you had all those guys in your team. You had one of them. Maybe you have two if you're lucky, whatever it is. So despite the fact that today he wasn't great, I think Hunter Brown needs to get a nod here because he was like a mid-round pick and he's basically become an ace, one of the best pitchers. His numbers are comparable with those guys I just mentioned that you picked in rounds 1 and 2. So I think Hunter Brown has to take the number 1 spot here in terms of fantasy all-star. And then my guy, Brian Wu, loved Brian Wu preseason. I drafted as much as I could. Was happy I traded for him a couple months ago. I love me some Brian Wu. This should not be surprising because he's got a 2.75 ERA, a 0.93 WHIP. That's basically identical to last year. The only problem with last year is he didn't pitch really what you call a full season because he was on the IL a few times. But this is who he is. He's a dominant pitcher. And so finally we're seeing it over the course of a full season. So Brian Wu, again, up there with all the best pitchers in the game, basically. And then one of my regrets and kind of yours too this year in fantasy, Robbie Ray, is not having more faith in him because we've seen Robbie Ray go both ways, right? We've seen Cy Young Robbie Ray a couple years ago, and then he kind of fell off and he got hurt. And I really thought this could be a great value. And I don't know why now. Okay, I'm kicking myself now. It's easy to think why, but he didn't get off to the best start in April. And I dropped him in one league, which was our league. And I kind of regret that now because he's also basically pitching like he did when he was a Cy Young winner a couple of years ago, the lowest whip of his career other than 2021, which was that year for Toronto. So, yeah, those are the three I want to give shouts to. Hunter Brown, Brian Wu, and Robbie Ray.
All right, so there are your Fantasy All-Star starting pitcher rotation. But we need some relievers here. We can't ask these guys to pitch every inning. So give me your two relief pitchers. Again, guys, remember, these aren't just the guys who have been the best this year, but it could be like guys who weren't drafted late, and have put up stud-like numbers. So who are our relievers here?
Well, I'm going to go with Carlos Estevez of the Royals, who I thought maybe could be trade bait if the Royals fall out of contention, but it seems like they won't. Tied for second in the majors with 25 saves. His numbers are actually better in terms of ratios. ERA at least is better than Josh Hader. Doesn't strike out as many batters, but really the difference there is negligible because, neither of these guys are leading the league in strikeouts because they're relief pitchers. So I think Carlos Estevez is one. And then a guy we didn't even know was going to be a closer for sure all the way throughout the season, but Aroldis Chapman, he's still got it. And, his strikeout rate isn't exactly what it used to be, but it's still better than a lot of the other closers who maybe have a few more saves than him. And so those are the shout outs I want to give to for relievers.
All right. So there are our pitchers. There's our pitching staff. Now let's get to the fun guys, the hitters. This is why we watch the game. I know some people like to watch pitchers, but those people are weird. Let's talk about the hitters. And let's start with a pretty obvious one because there's really only one choice here. At DH, who's going to be our DH?
Yeah, so now that this is a thing, DH is just part of the game, and even the All-Star game. I don't think I even need to say the name, do I? Okay, so let's put Ohtani at DH and just move on. No further explanation required.
All right. Now, what about the outfield? Let's get to our outfielders. Who are our 3 starting outfielders? I think one name a no-brainer, but the second name, if you got this guy, probably also not a no-brainer. Or, I mean, is a no-brainer.
Well, not always are the first round picks, the top 5 picks, guys who turn out to be the most valuable. But sorry, close your ears, Chris, just for a second here. If you drafted Aaron Judge with your first pick, he was absolutely worth it. Yeah, Aaron Judge is just destroying fantasy this year. One case in baseball, it's unlike with football, where you're like, yeah, one player can make all the difference. Sometimes in baseball, you're like, no. In this case, Aaron Judge is making all the difference by himself. He is carrying teams. Now, is he going to keep it up in the second half? Probably, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who's the rest of our outfielder? Because the next one has a case to maybe be the fantasy MVP for the first half.
I think everyone knows Pete Crow Armstrong. The steals, 27 steals now at the half. That's not surprising, right? We figured he might do this. The batting average is good. It's like in the 260s, I think. I mean, that's fine. The runs, yeah, the Cubs are doing great. So none of this surprised me except for the 25 home runs. Yeah, where did this come from? He's not a power hitter. So I'm really curious to see how many home runs he ends up with at the end of the year. Like PCA is a super aggressive hitter. He swings a lot, but he's making good contact. He's figured it out already, which is kind of scary. So yeah, Pete Crow Armstrong is pretty much right behind Aaron Judge in terms of overall fantasy MVP. Not that there's not one more player on the list, but we're just in the outfield now. And then the third outfield, it was kind of tough. A lot of good players, but in terms of, I think, exceeding expectations and value, I just have to finally admit, maybe Byron Buxton is going to have his best year. Maybe he actually won't get hurt again. I really hope he doesn't. Look, I like Buxton. This is one of those things where I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to get suckered again, right? It's kind of like with Joe Adele. It's like I have to stop believing, and now that I stop believing, it's happening. So Byron Buxton, 21 home runs, 17 steals, hitting 286, which also he hadn't been hitting for average lately. He's doing everything. He's helping in every category. Now, the amazing stat, we'll keep saying this, the most amazing, impressive stat for Buxton this year is his plate appearance total. He's 329 plate appearances. Only once in his entire career has he gone over 400 plate appearances. So give him a couple more weeks. He's going to pretty much surpass his career high in that. That was 2017, by the way. That's the last time he even had 400 plate appearances, and he's at 329. So let's hope it keeps up.
Don't jinx him. You never know. Don't jinx him. But so far, so good. All right, let's get to the infield now. First base. I feel like first base has not been good this year. Like a lot of busts at first base. Vlad Guerrero, Freddie Freeman, Bryce Harper. A lot of first basemen have not delivered on what promised. But there is a young first baseman who has maybe exceeded expectations. Who is going to be our all-star first baseman?
So I pulled a switch here. At first I thought Spencer Torkelson. If you look at the fact that he has, the best first base for fantasy right now is Pete Alonso. Spencer Torkelson has many home runs at the end of the first half as Pete Alonso, except Spencer Torkelson wasn't even drafted. Like in a lot of leagues, again, he wasn't drafted at all, or it was like a late round flyer. And I understand why. So he's tied with Alonso. Unless something changed today for home runs, and only 2 first basemen have more RBIs. So that's impressive. But I have to switch it because now looking at Nick Kurtz, I mean, come on, let's give a shout out to Nick Kurtz. So even though his season-long stats aren't quite the same, yes, thank you, Luis. I agree. If you look at just since he came back from the IL, May 20th, just since May 20th, he has 16 home runs and 42 RBIs. Again, compare that with the guys I just mentioned. Torkelson and Alonso have 21 home runs over the entire season. And only 4 guys in the entire major leagues have more home runs and RBIs than Kurtz since May 20th. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Kurtz.
All right, let's go to second base, another position that has seen plenty of disappointments and bust, but one guy finally, some people need to put some respect on this guy. Who is it going to be at second base for our all-star team?
A guy that doesn't even play second base, but he qualifies there for fantasy, and that's all that matters. Jonathan Aranda, nice to see him get the all-star nod. I still can't believe that people were doubting like months into the season. He just now, or the past like week or so, just got over 75% owned in Yahoo. He's not even 80%. Like people are like, oh, let's wait and see. What are you waiting for? If Aaron Judge takes a dip in terms of batting average, which is possible, and Jacob Wilson too, then Jonathan Aranda could be your batting champion in the AL because he is third behind those guys with 327 average, almost 50 runs and RBIs each. So the power numbers aren't as, gaudy, and maybe that's why he doesn't get as much attention. But, batting average counts just as much as home runs, and it's actually harder to get that stat. So I think Aranda is my pick at second, even though, yeah, I know he doesn't play second, but in my fantasy team, he does.
All right. Now let's move to third base, a power hitter here. A guy we kind of thought, if he's power or nothing, but he's got a lot of power this year. Who's our third base all-star?
I think we got to go with Eugenio Suarez, who talk about all those players who have more home runs and RBIs than these other. Yeah, Suarez is up there. Only Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh have more RBIs than him, and only Raleigh has more home runs. It'll be really interesting to see what the Diamondbacks do with Suarez because he's now all of a sudden a super valuable trade chip. Do you want to trade basically your best hitter behind Corbin Carroll, or are you going to hold on and pretend that you're going to be a contender? It'll be interesting. If he does go somewhere, that could even boost his value somehow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're going into the All-Star break with 4 guys over 30 home runs. Although the All-Star break does come much later in the season than it used to. But still, 4 guys over 30 home runs going in the All-Star break. Steroids are alive and well. Baseball, baby. I love it. All right.
Maybe. Allegedly.
Let's move on before I get canceled. We don't have to worry about getting canceled. None of the old heads that run baseball are watching YouTube. They don't even know what YouTube is. Let's be real. All right, shortstop. I know this is another one of your guys. You love this guy. He's been awesome despite being stuck on the Angels, which the Angels have been surprising. So who's our shortstop here?
All right. So, yeah, this one, a little personal. I have to give some recognition to a guy that nobody talks about, Zach Neto of the Angels. Sure, there's 10 other shortstop who fantasy have put up better stats, but barely. And the thing is, you have to realize he didn't play for the first 3 weeks of the season. He was a very late round pick. You could just stash him in the IL and wait. And if you did, you were rewarded. With a guy who's basically comparable to all those other shortstops, like I said, who are equal or just ahead of him. Jacob Wilson, been great, gets a lot of attention, but he doesn't steal bases like Neto does. Neto has more power than he does. Again, I know there's a lot of players you could have picked here, but I think Neto deserves some recognition because he's helped you in basically every category, and he came at a great discount on draft day.
All right, there you go. There's our. Wait! I forgot one position. Hold on, I forgot one position. The best last. Somebody's got to catch these pitchers. Who could it be? Who could be our catcher all-star? Who is going to shock the world with the catcher all-star here?
I want to save this one for your own sake. So I think it makes up for the fact that I know you didn't get Judge, but you got somebody who's just as good, if not better, than Aaron Judge.
I don't know
you got the still can't say the nickname, Big Dumper.
Let's go, Big Dumper.
Yes.
Dumping home runs on everybody. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't care who it is.
He doesn't care. Is Cal Raleigh going to hit 60 plus home runs this year? Is he going to break the all-time record? Maybe. Why not? Go for it. Let's see it. Cal Raleigh, MVP of the world this year.
Baseball needs Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge in a home run race like we had Sosa and McGuire. Baseball needs that. Cal Raleigh's delivering. I don't know what he did this offseason. I don't know what.
Good question.
I mean, we have some ideas maybe. Again, all speculation here. But Cal Raleigh. But I mean, imagine if I had Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh, how good my team would have been. But
pretty good. Your team's pretty
good. At least I got Cal Raleigh, who's already hit his career high in home runs, and it's just now the All-Star break. Beat his career high by 4. We'll see. We'll see what he does in the second half. We'll see what all these guys do in the second half. But if you had these guys in your team in the first half, you have been loving life in fantasy baseball. But there are a lot more players than just our all-star team, and you guys got questions about them as we head into the break. So obviously, we will jump into those questions here. Appreciate you guys being on this Sunday. I know baseball's kind of in a hiatus, but we still got some people on here chatting it up with us. And of course, if you don't want to wait, if you want to jump to the front of the line, or you're just feeling generous, or you want to say thanks for all the advice for the first half, you could drop that super chat. Not necessary, but always welcome. All right, let's jump right into it with Harry. Wants to know, did you watch the Futures game? And here we go. What are your thoughts on the Marlins prospect that pitches from both sides? My question is, have we ever seen one of these guys that can pitch from both sides actually be successful in the big leagues?
And will it be him? Yet, but we could. All right. So first of all, I didn't get to watch the Futures game now, but I'll probably go back and watch the highlights. I always check the box scores when I can. I try not to take too much away from these kind of all-star games, because a lot of times these players will do something and it winds up meaning very little in the long run. But I'm curious. I'm always curious to see who stands out. And I think if it's the pitcher you're mentioning, the pitchers from both sides, I think he's a Mariners pitcher, at least the one I know. And I don't have no idea how to say his name. It's Clinche or something like that. If it's that guy, then you're not going to see him this year or next year. I think probably at the earliest would be 2027, but you never know. I think he could pull it off. Why not? We had never seen a guy like Shohei Ohtani before a few years ago. So why can't we see a guy who pitches from both sides before?
Here's my thing. And again, remember, I am far from the expert here. So take this with a very big grain of salt. If you're trying to be good at pitching with both, like from as a lefty and a righty, you can't devote enough time to both sides. Like if you just said, like, I'm going to pitch righty or I'm going to pitch lefty, you could become an unbelievable left-handed pitcher, an unbelievable right-handed pitcher. But, now you have to focus on arm angle with both arms, how you throw pitches with both arms. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he can do it, but we haven't seen it yet.
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's why we don't see it, because it's just very complicated. It's more complicated now. You can say, well, switch hitters, they hit from both sides. It's not the same. Pitching is more difficult.
Usually switch hitters they usually have a better side, right? Like they're good enough from the other side, but then they're much better from the one side.
Right. No, that's exactly right. And I don't know offhand which side this guy might be better from. I think mentally it wouldn't be that different, because you think about the angles and knowing how many pitches you use, and you can still think of it the same way, just from different angles. And as far as the execution being consistent, right, going from one side to the other, that's where it might get tricky. But hey, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure we'll see him in the majors at some point.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll give him a shot for sure. All right, Michael, what's up? Would you trade your boy Zach Neto? Well, actually, on the other way, would you trade Max Fried for Zach Neto in Dynasty?
After all the love I just gave like Neto, I can't do this. Max Fried he's an ace. He's just too valuable. I don't think you get enough there.
All right, and then he wants to know, rest of the season, Kyle Stowers, who just carried you into the All-Star break with a 3-home run game, or
That's
Evan
right.
Carter?
Yeah, look, it's Stowers, All-Star, Kyle Stowers. And I love that he proved the point, sticking to the Orioles for trading him. Yeah, it's got to be Stowers. Evan Carter still has a lot to prove before we can say I'm sticking with him, even starting him the rest of the season. Kyle Stowers has basically justified everything, I've been saying about him.
All right, and then we got Fantasy Sports here. What's up? Good to see you as well. Andrea, what's up? All right, Leo wants to know, what are we doing with Ozzy Albies? He's batting .219, 7 home runs, 7 steals. Has a combined 60-something runs and RBIs combined. Has almost as many strikeouts as runs and RBIs combined. What are we doing with Ozzy Albies?
Well, it's fitting that this came up right after Andrea because I made the unfortunate decision to buy low on Ozzy Albies from her. We made a trade that she clearly has won. Probably the only reason in that league that I haven't dropped him is the sunk cost fallacy. It's because I traded for him and I lost that trade and I don't want to admit defeat.
But you just did it, so you can let go now.
I guess. You know what? I have to. I think officially let go because guess what? Tomorrow's video. So I always do the panic, right? Either panic or like a keep trade cut, some variation of that. It's going to be a first half kind of. It's going to be the opposite of what we just did. This was the Fantasy All Stars. Shout out to all the best players each position. You're going to see the all bust team. Shocker! Guess who's the second baseman on the all bust team? Yeah, I think you can just drop him because everything we've seen, I'll get more detail. It's just there's no sign that it's going to change. The bat speed is really low. The exit velocity has been really low. He's always relied a little bit more on launch angle and quality of contact for his power. That has taken a dip. It's basically all bad.
All bad. Speaking of all bad, what are your concerns? Are you concerned with Clay Holmes? And is Matt Chapman worth keeping?
Yeah, good question, Mason. I am now concerned with Clay Holmes because I do feel like the plan is to limit his innings because what we see now is they have this piggyback thing going on, which is never good for a pitcher to either be followed or to follow somebody else, especially if they got an opener. It kills chances for wins and quality starts, limits innings. So, yeah, I'm concerned with Holmes. The ratios will still be good, but they're looking to the playoffs. Manea's coming back. I'm sure they're going to trade for somebody. Even if it's not an exciting name, it's going to be somebody for the rotation. So, yeah, Holmes is definitely going to be a little less valuable going forward. He's still rosterable, but just less valuable. And then, yeah, Chapman's worth keeping.
All right, let's go to T-Rex Gaming. What's up? Tyler Stevenson or JT Realmuto rest the season?
Yep, I agree. Stevenson over JT. I called JT. I put him on the cut list a couple of weeks ago. Nothing's going to change. You know what? Maybe he does put together a good week or two, and he might look like he's redeeming his value. But again, overall, the numbers here have taken a dip, a consistent dip. I think this is sadly Father Time catching up.
All right, then let's do another catcher question from T-Rex. He's got all the catcher questions. Must be in like a 4-catcher league. Langoliers or Augustin Ramirez rest of the season? It's points league.
Ooh, now that's a tougher one. In a points league, because my gut reaction is Langoliers, just more power upside a little bit, more favorable home park, etc. In a points league, then plate discipline matters a little bit more. Now it's hard to say with Augustin Ramirez because we haven't seen him in the majors for more than a couple of months. Langoliers doesn't really have a high K rate though for a power hitter, so it's as close, but I'll still give the edge to Langoliers.
All right, then Doyle, what's up? Would you rather Addison Barger or Alec Baum rest of the season?
Here's another one. Alec Baum, not quite exciting enough to make a bust list, but he's been disappointing, and Barger has been hot. Let's go Barger.
All right, let's go Barger. And then Fantasy Sports wants to know, who are the top 3 out of this group? Tyler Ward, Jung-Hoo Lee, Evan Carter, Jurickson Profar, or All-Star Kyle Stowers?
Well, In points league, Stowers is first. Profar is going to be second. Those two are easy. The third one is really kind of a toss-up. I mean, I feel like Evan Carter has the highest ceiling, but not sure what you're going to get from him the rest of the season. Young Ho Lee maybe has the highest floor, but is that what we're looking for here, right? We're looking for a floor. So, and Ward is kind of either way. I'll go, I don't know. Let's take a chance on Evan Carter.
All right. There you go. Thank you for that. F wants to know, how in are we on Colt Keith?
We got to be in for now. He made the waiver wire list. If you saw, move to leadoff in that lineup, that gets me excited because we know, of course, Tigers one of the best teams in the majors nowadays. He's leading off now. He's playing more regularly. That's like kind of what we've been waiting for. Is the consistency going to be there the rest of the season? Well, it's not guaranteed, but yeah, I'm pretty all in on Colt Keith.
All right. Pretty all in. Ethan wants to know, rest of the season in a head-to-head points league, you want Kyle Stowers or Tyler Soderstrom?
I'm going to go Stowers. Again, a points league, give the edge to the guy who's going to be better in terms of batting average. It's going to be Stowers, less reliant on home runs. I don't think we have to worry as much now. You know, when Colby Thomas got called up, with like, oh, maybe Soderstrom's going to lose at bats. Well, he got sent back down, and that doesn't seem to be an issue. But still, give me Stowers.
All right. And Victor wants to know, he's got Bryce Harper, Spencer Torkelson at first base, needs pitching help. Also has Soderstrom, by the way. Who would you trade here for pitching help?
That's a tricky question because what you're getting back for each one is not the same. Bryce Harper, despite the stats, you know, he of course missed a lot of time on the IL. He's Bryce Harper. You can get an elite pitcher for him. I don't think you're getting anything close to that for Torkelson, despite the season numbers. And I know what you said. Well, Torkelson has 21 home runs. A lot of that came in the first 2 months of the season. You're not getting an ace, you know. Let's go back to Max Fried, right? Talked about Max Fried earlier. Could you get Max Fried, Bryce Harper? Yes. You're going to get Max Fried for Torkelson? No, you'll probably get laughed at. So it just depends how much help you want or need, I should say. And have Soderstrom. Like, if you trade Harper to get a certified ace, could you get by with Torkelson and Soderstrom? Yeah, I think so. So I would test the waters, see maybe what you might be able to get for Torkelson. And if it's nothing good, then I'm okay trading Harper.
All right. Roxanne in the house. She wants to know, Kyle Stowers, a lot of Kyle Stowers questions, or Lawrence Butler rest of the season?
All right. This is finally testing my loyalty here. This is probably where we have to kind of draw the line now. Again, it's not going to be that different. Statistically, you got to look at what they've done. I mean, Stowers, better power hitter, Stowers, better average, but he doesn't steal bases like Lawrence Butler. And here's the one reason I said Lawrence Butler was a nice buy low a few weeks ago is we know that he could heat up like he did last year. Just because he had a great second half doesn't mean he'll have a great second half. But still, sometimes players do this. They get better as the season goes on. There's that upside, that next level that I don't know if Stowers really has, you know. So I got to go Butler.
All right, Butler it is. Dario Santana wants to know, in a keeper league, what do you do with Drew Rasmussen, who has not been allowed to pitch more than 3 innings in any of the last 3 games and only gone 2 innings each of the last 2 games? Because why not?
Yeah, this, like what we said with Clay Holmes earlier, this is that, but more extreme. You could probably drop Rasmussen now.
All right. Ethan wants to know, for saves, you like Mason Miller or Drew Palencia?
Look, I love Palencia. He's a great ad, but Mason Miller's lights out. Now you're asking this. I wonder. I'm trying to guess as to what the reason why you're having to pick one of these guys. I mean, there's no way that Miller should be on any waiver wire, and of course Palencia really shouldn't either. But if I had to pick one, it's Mason Miller. But why do you have to choose?
Get both.
Yeah.
All right, back to Victor. He's got Matt McClain and Spencer Steer. He doesn't really need both. So who are you keeping?
Yeah, look, McLean is just gonna. It looks like he's just gonna continue to be a drag on batting average. So I think if you had to pick, just go Steer.
All right, go with Steer. All right, Harry Brooks. What's up? Lost Austin Riley. Who are we at in here? How's Vientos? I dropped Vientos like weeks ago. Has he even done anything?
Nope.
The other Max Muncy, who's not hurt currently, Royce Lewis, Colt Keith, Jorge Polanco, or Otto Lopez. So who we at?
I was a little worried at first, but the options got better as we went on the list. It's Lewis or Keith. Honestly, I'd like to add them both because Lewis can slot in at third base. Keith, again, I mentioned this in the waiver wire video. In Yahoo, at least, he qualifies at first, second, and third base. So you can put him anywhere. He's a great utility player to have on your bench. I mean, I guess being hot doesn't matter right now because we're about to take a break. So I'm going to put Lewis first and then Keith second.
All right, there we go. Now, Tonks. Another catcher question. A lot of catcher questions. Adley Rutschman or Carson Kelly rest the season? And would you be trying to trade Adley?
Well, you're obviously gonna have to wait. I don't know how much interest you can get from Adley right now. I think I still got to go Adley rest of the season. Carson Kelly had a very nice start to the season, and then he fell back to earth. I mean, I don't know. Do I want to start Carson Kelly, every day rest of the season because I traded Adley? Not really. I'd rather have a different catcher. So if you have other options, then I'm okay trading Adley, but it's just tricky because I don't know what you're going to get for him right now.
All right. I almost don't want to bring this one up.
I see it. Come on. This is testing my loyalty. This is just testing my reaction here.
What are we doing here? We dropped Stowers for pitcher Duvor Sheehan. No, the latest and greatest hype.
Who's been good? Granted, he's been good. But look, did you drop him before his 3-homer game?
I assume so. I hope he didn't just drop him.
Yeah. Rage.
He wants to add him and Herrera off IL. Yes. So I guess I can remember it's a shallow league, so Herrera just sitting out there on IL. That's fine. All right, so who's most droppable? Again, it's categories league. Chandler Simpson, Noel Martier, who's heating up. Maybe he went back to his old doctor. Elliot Ramos, Cam Smith, Lawrence Butler, Junior Cabanero.
We're back to his old diet. He's eating Wheaties again.
His old diet of Wheaties. Jackson Holiday, Luis Arias, who you dropped in our league, and William Contreras. So I'm guessing you're going to say Arias for sure.
Yes.
All right, so we need to drop 2 of these guys so we can get Stowers back and get Herrera off IL. Who's he dropping?
So, add those 2. Drop Arias, get rid of that guy. Simpson, are you starting Simpson? If the answer is no, then drop Simpson.
All right, there you go. We can fix this. Huey. All right, Drew Scalosa. I traded Jackson Merrill. I have not regretted it once. But he did hit 2 home runs the other day. But sandwiched around those 2 home runs has been a ton of nothing. Like nothing. Not even batting average. Just nothing. So he's up to 7 home runs and 1 stolen base at the break. Is he going to turn it around in the second half?
This is one of those where it's like that one game right before the break, and you're like, oh, look, it's going to happen. Maybe like this is the tease, right? Like makes you think. I'm going to talk about Jackson Merrill in tomorrow's video too, because he made the all bust team because you just can't ignore the nothing he's been giving you in stolen bases and very little power up until before yesterday. The verdict is still out, so I will tell you more in tomorrow's video. But honestly, I'm not sure. This could go either way. I have not called him a buy low. I have not said, oh, yeah, I know you keep, I don't want to drop him, right? I'm not going to necessarily drop him. but it doesn't mean I'm convinced he's going to, basically do what he did last year.
Yeah, that's why I was so happy to trade him.
Yeah.
Just because it's like sucks when you have one of those guys like him who you're like, I know I can't drop him, but I also don't want to start him. So he's just going to sit on my bench. I'm either going to start him and keep taking like the 0 for 4, the 1 for 5 with no counting stats, right? Or I'm going to stick him on the bench and he's just going to clog a roster spot day after day after day because I can't drop him, So it's like, get him off my team so I don't have to think about it anymore. If he goes off in the second half, oh well. I don't want to think about it anymore.
And I think, like Matt McClain, mentioned earlier, to some extent like that. Not the same because he didn't have a great 2024, didn't have a 2024, but he had a good second half of the previous year, and there's people all excited, right? Like, oh, look what he did in that short sample size as a young player, which, as you know, that's like the kiss of death, right? And so you're like, but I can't drop him. He could break out any moment. And right now, not to pick on Matt McClain, but let's pick on Matt McClain because I think he's a great example of this, where you're like, I can't. He's so talented. He's hitting 206, right?
Yeah.
There's been more bad than good. So it's like, when do you cut the cord?
Right. Yep. It's tough. I mean, it's certainly tough with a guy like Merrill, especially drafted. I mean, he was like what, like a fifth round pick this year. It's tough.
Right. And Matt McClain wasn't.
Yeah. Drew's saying he's got Marcell Ozuna, Jackson Merrill, the guy, and Matt McClain, the guys we talked about. He's got a bench one in the second half. Who gets benched?
Can you all of them? Can you bench them all?
Yeah.
Look, in our league, Marcell Ozuna got dropped, which kind of surprised me. But you know what? I didn't pick him up. I was like,
no, I don't think anybody has. I think he's still out there. Let me see.
I'm worried about the hip
Oh
bothering
no,
him.
somebody did pick him up, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you need to drop him, or that you should, but who are you going to bench? Well, okay, if I'm going to keep one of them in my lineup, actually, it's the one I have the most hope for is Merrill. I'm probably going to bench Ozuna until I see some sign that he's better. And again, there's a physical reason why he might be struggling. He's got a torn muscle in his hip or something. So who knows? I'd say bench Ozuna for now, but we'll see. McClain is, when he's hot, okay, start him. When he's not, you want to bench him quick before he drags your average down. McClain has looked better lately, but again, let's not get sucked into a good week or two,
All right, then Skywalker, what's up? Speaking of Colt Keith, he wants to know, since moving to leadoff, has he played against a left-hander yet?
I think he has, not every day. And someone asked earlier, is he like an everyday player now? No, not every day, but I do think they're keeping him in there more than they used to. Let me check real quick because I can't say I know offhand. Which, by the way, you're like, how are you checking? I use Fangraphs a lot. Good resource. I recommend. There's no secrets here. I recommend you guys check it. You can find out a lot of things that way. Give yourself an advantage over your league mates. So he's played a little bit of second, DH, third. He has played over the last week every single day. Now, every single one of those games has been against a right-hander. So it's hard for me to say whether they're going to play him against lefties. It just so happened, I guess, that they've had a string of games where they haven't faced a lefty. So I'm not going to be shocked if he does still sit against lefties, but I still think that doesn't devalue what he's done. Took a splits. I don't think he has a really hard negative split against left-handers either. Let's see. Well, he hasn't played enough for really to tell. 40 plate appearances. He's hitting 162. So there's your answer. Your answer is he'll probably still sit mostly against lefties.
All right, Carl, what's up? Are you nervous about Yu Darvish, who in his 2 starts, not been very good so far? Granted, it was the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. No easy tasks there. So are you nervous?
No, I think we have to just chalk this up to he's missed a lot of time. And so he's a stash, not a start. I picked him up, but I didn't start him. Thankfully, this last start kept him on the bench. Let's just wait and see. When he finally has a decent start, then you can roll him out. But yeah, this is an older pitcher. It's going to take a little longer, right, to just get back into his routine. So just stash. Is Salvi going to smash second half? I think so. I think he's already started to pick it up. As I mentioned, he's driving a lot of runs lately. Yeah, I think Perez is definitely going to have a better second half.
All right. You and I, we both are all for the rage drop. It's fun to rage drop somebody, right?
Oh, yeah.
But can it be considered a rage drop when a guy's been bad for a year and a half? Like, hasn't the rage subsided by now? like, isn't the rage gone? Are you just like mentally defeated at this point? If you have Luis Robert Jr., like if somebody dropped Luis Robert Jr., they're not rage dropping him. They're like, I picture them more like probably sitting on the toilet, shedding tears, from the pain that they've just endured over the last year and a half of having this guy on his fantasy team. Anyways, Jay Grizz wants to know, can he turn it around because he placed a waiver wire bid for him?
Oh man, I was gonna say we kind of talk about this almost every week, right? He's been better.
Yes, it feels like almost every week.
He's been less horrible lately. Look, can he still give you something in fantasy? Of course he can. This guy has all the tools physically. He's obviously still stealing bases. Like, that's not a question. He has power. He can, on occasion, get a base hit. He could, but I think he's the type of player who will do it in stretches. So, look, I'm not against picking him up as long as you keep your hopes very, very low.
Yes. Don't let him infiltrate your emotions and crush you. If he's not, you might want to rage drop him. You put in the claim and a week later you might want to rage drop him. Don't let it get past the stage of rage.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Speaking of Jackson Merrill in a deep league, who are some players you'd be looking to get in return for him? Because I feel like Jackson Merrill, for as bad as he's been, he's that young, hyped up guy. People want to believe that Jackson Merrill is going to be the next great superstar, or one of the next great superstars. I feel like he still has trade value.
Exactly. And look, we want to pretend like, well, the draft was a long time ago. We don't care where we drafted him. You shouldn't care too much, but people care, right?
Yeah.
Because the impression you had of him before the season, your opinion of Jackson Merrill, young, upcoming superstar, one of the best young hitters, blah, blah. Like, forget the stats. Like, forget what he's actually done. That's the impression people have of him. So, yeah, right. You could get something for him, and it's obviously not going to be nearly what you could have gotten, earlier in the season. But, look, let's be realistic. Okay, so I don't know if you're talking hitter or pitcher. You could get, and I'm not saying I would do this, but you could get like a Michael Garcia, maybe, who's been better, right? You could probably get a Randy Arozarena, who is kind of boring at this point in his career, but still productive in terms of power and speed. You probably could do that. You could probably get Jonathan Aranda, who everyone's like, oh my God, why would you do that? Because he's better right now in fantasy. So you could probably get one of those players.
All right, there you go. My advice is go trade away Jackson Merrill, but then of course he's probably going to hit like 20 home runs in the second half or something. Probably not. All right, there, boy. Raiders starting pitching: Logan Gilbert, Mackenzie Gore, Shota Imanaga, Jacob deGrom, Chase Burns, Chris Sale on IL, Aaron Nola on IL, Pablo Lopez on IL. So rate that in a 12-team Roto League. He's also thinking about picking up Andrew Painter and Bubba Chandler.
Well, this won't make you feel better, but you got like an all-star squad on the IL there. You still have really good pitchers. Is this a 12-team league? Yeah, you're great at starting pitcher. I mean, those guys, Chase Burns, of course, is what he is. He's going to be inconsistent. He's a young pitcher, but yeah, you're great. I mean, this is for a 12-team league, and if I include who you have injured, this is like a 9 out of a 10 kind of a pitching squad. So I would pick up Painter. They're worth a speculative ad. I mean, I don't know if I would. You would probably have to drop Chase Burns for him though, so that's the risk you would have to take.
All right, and then F wants to know: is it time to add Francisco Alvarez?
It is not time. Francisco Alvarez was bad enough he actually got sent down. Let's actually see him hit major league pitching consistently. No.
All right. TM, who are you most hopeful of these IL pitchers? He wants your top two. So who are your top two? I feel like TM asks this question every stream, but maybe it's changed. Bailey Ober, Bryce Miller, Tyler Mahle, Zach Eflin, Jameson Taillon, Spencer Arrighetti.
Yeah, this looks vaguely familiar. I'm going to go Arrighetti first, and I'll put Bryce Miller second.
All right, there you go. And then Benjamin wants to know which 3 outfielders out of this group, Adolis Garcia, is he doing anything yet? Austin Hayes, Kyle Stowers, Hunter Goodman, or TJ Friedel? Which 3?
Adolis is interesting because it's possible the Rangers trade him. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. All right. So which 3 out of this group? Stowers, yes. I mean, you're counting Goodman as an outfielder. If you have Goodman, you want to put him at catcher. I don't know who your catcher is, but okay. I'll put him in that group. So this is where it gets tricky. Garcia or Hayes. I mean, I hate to hold out some optimism for Garcia. He hasn't been that bad. He's been disappointing because I expected better, but I still think he could have a good second half. And I mean, who knows if he does get traded. So I'll put Garcia third. So Stowers, Goodman, Garcia.
All right, there we go. And then let's go back to Billy, or let's go to Billy. Wants to know, Max Scherzer, is he a keep?
It depends on what your roster looks like. I think he's a streamer for now.
All right. Streamer for now. Speaking of streamer, man, I've had Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd's been pitching great. It didn't affect my matchup this week, but I was like, Yankees. I was like winning ERA and whip. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it against. Is Matthew Boyd just a must start now? Is he just a must start now?
Yeah. And he's been around the block a few times. He's seen teams like the Yankees, and he hasn't had really like a bad start. Like his bad starts aren't, nearly like some other pitchers, like young pitchers. Nah. Yeah, I think you just keep him in there every
kicking myself. Thankfully, it didn't matter, but man, I was kicking myself for not starting. All right, F wants to know, is Chris Sale worth trading for in leagues with playoffs?
Yeah, why not? Sale, I mean, he'll be back, not real soon, but again, you're looking long term. This is a buy low strategy. Now, again, low. So as long as you're not giving up too much, I think that's a smart move.
All right, and then back to Jay Grizz, who hopefully is not going to get wrecked by the Luis Robert Jr. claim. But he may get wrecked by these pitchers. Will Joe Boyle or Sheehan eventually end up as starting pitchers? And is it worth? And then he wants to know, is it worth rostering both?
All right. With Sheehan, he's pitched well, but the tricky thing is, Glass now is back. Is Blake Snell ever coming back? Who knows? We never know with the Dodgers rotation. I think for now he is, but I can't guarantee you that, come September he will be. It's worth rostering for now because things change all the time. So here's the thing with Joe Boyle. I don't trust that he's going to be a starting pitcher. So what they're doing with him is using him as kind of like a piggyback. It's super annoying for fantasy, where they have like the opener and then the other guy comes in and pitches 5 innings or however long. Now there is some talk. There's a rumor that Taj Bradley is being kind of shopped around. Like, I guess the Rays are just, I don't know, trying to extract value from somebody they don't want to keep. So if Taj Bradley gets traded, then maybe there's a spot open for Boyle. Drew Rasmussen not getting regular innings anymore. So I can see him pitching some innings, but I can't say it's enough to make me interested in fantasy because chance to get win or QS is very low, if not zero. So I'd roster Sheehan, but not Boyle.
All right, and then let's look into your crystal ball at Roman Anthony. What are you projecting for him rest of the season?
Well, with Roman Anthony, it's hard to say because I still don't exactly know what Boston's going to do here. Are they going full youth movement? Are they going to pretend that they're still going to contend and buy? I don't know. But Roman Anthony's at bats are not the question. He's moved up in the order. They've been better. I think as long as you keep a reasonable expectation for batting average, let's say maybe 270s, 280s, he can give you some power, some speed. I don't feel like he's going to be a league winner. I'm not saying he's going to have Corbin Carroll rookie year kind of second half, but I think he's worth starting on a daily basis. I've been starting him in several leagues on a daily basis. So I'm not going to put numbers to it. That's for smarter guys than me to do in terms of projections. Like ATC probably has the rest of the season projections up on Fangraphs. I could look it up for you, but I don't think that's what you want. I think he's going to be a pretty solid, let's say right now, high-end number 3 outfielder with potential to move up to like a high-end number 2 outfielder.
All right, there we go. And then Uwe, back to Uwe, wants to know, Ryan Nelson, who finally had a rough start here this week, can we still depend on him going forward? And should we be worried about Chris Bubic starting to fade?
Bubic, I know there have been questions about his innings. They have said they're not going to necessarily put a cap on it. It doesn't mean he's going to go as deep into games every time, though. But I'm not too worried about him. I mean, we're deep enough into the season. I can stop worrying. You know what? In your league, Yui, I don't feel like you have to play Ryan Nelson because you're in a shallow league. Ryan Nelson is a very high-end streamer when he has good matchups for someone like you. In our league, he's, again, not a must keep or anything, but yeah, I would depend on him. In a 12-team or deeper league, I think he's a nice back-end arm. The ratios are low. He doesn't get hit hard too often.
All right, couple more, and then we got to get going. Let's go to Jill. What's up, Jill? Wants to know what's happening with Tanner Scott, the closer for the Dodgers.
Well, he's overall, I know he's had some rough outings lately, but overall, the numbers are still pretty good on the season. I think he's at like 19, almost 20 saves. I mean, not really that disappointing. With the Dodgers, he may not be the closer the rest of the season because they've got plenty of options. And so you might see Vestia get some saves. You might see Trainin or random guys get saves, but he's still going to have value. So I think he's still a keeper.
All right. And then Drew wants to know, in deep leagues, he needs speed. Would you go Mason Wynn or Jose Caballeros?
Between the two to Win, I mean, Win is an everyday player. Caballeros is a utility guy. So other guys are like for speed. Well, I don't know how deep. I mean, I'm kind of surprised Mason Wynn's available if it's a deep league. Chandler Simpson, obviously for speed. I don't know if he's available.
All right, then Frank saying, had enough of Matt McClain dropped him a week ago. He can either pick up Max Muncy, I assume of the A's, or Romy Gonzalez. Who you got?
Romy Gonzalez, randomly one of the hottest hitters for the past week. I picked him up just because, you know what I say. If a guy's red hot, I will pick up anybody. I don't care what his name is or where he plays. Just see how long it lasts. It's unfortunate now that he has to stop playing for the All-Star break. I guess try Gonzalez, and we'll see if he's hot out the gate after the break.
All right. Speaking of a guy who's red hot right now, Noelvi Marte. Keith wants to know, he picked him up over Austin Hayes. Was that the right decision?
Yeah, well, time will tell, but sure, he definitely has more upside than Hayes. So streaky hitter to be sure. You're gonna have to take the good with the bad.
And then we'll go, like I said, a couple more here. All right, Benjamin, Augustin Ramirez or Hunter Goodman at catcher, 14-team roto.
I'm going to go Goodman. The power upside is a little bit greater. He's been real good. It's hitting for average. I mean, for a catcher. And for Goodman, that was the question: is he going to tank your average? He hasn't. So, yeah, I'm going to go Goodman there. But you're a 14 teamer. I might hang on to both. I don't want to just drop a guy like Ramirez if you don't have to.
All right, and then F. So you drop Rasmussen or Clay Holmes for Slade Ciccone.
Ciccone. Yeah, I like Ciccone. From the U. Yeah, I can drop Rasmussen for Ciccone.
All right, then Tristan just dropping in to let us know he's upset that James Wood had to be added as an alternate. Yeah, there's some ridiculous all-star decisions, but it is what it is. Like,
yeah,
come on, Jacob Mizorowski over Christopher
Sanchez.
Get out of here with this. Come on.
Old man Rand is about to start, about to fire up. Look, I don't think anybody thinks that, other than Brewers fans, thinks that was like a rational decision. It screams PR and
yes.
Oh, we the young fans. We're like, no, the young fans are looking at it like, that's stupid. What are you thinking? They're thinking the same thing we are. Like, what are you doing? But anyways.
Right. All right, last question, because it feeds perfectly into tomorrow's video. Victor wants to know, all right, how many more weeks can we afford to wait until a big trade is necessary to vault yourself into playoff contention? Mookie is a player he's thinking of trading. Now, this goes very well into tomorrow's video, so why don't you drop a little sneak peek at tomorrow's video, how it's going to be, and maybe Victor will find his answer on tomorrow's video.
Yep. How many weeks can we afford to wait? 0. Don't wait, because the longer you wait, right, the window might close to sell on a guy that's struggling, to buy low on a player you're eyeing. Why wait? So you always want to be ahead of the game, and that's kind of what we preach here, right? That's why we have our beautiful name, the Fantasy End Game. You're always looking ahead. So we want to play chess while the others are playing Connect 4. Trading Mookie Betts, you're like, what? You can't. Why not? Like, why not? Do what makes the most sense for your club. So I'll talk about Mookie Betts in detail in the video, but don't wait to make a trade. No.
Yeah, don't wait. Make that trade. Check out the video tomorrow. Everything will be on there, and we'll finish with Dirt Boy with the super chat. Just saying thank you for the help all the season.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you guys for being here, supporting the channel, being on the live streams, watching the videos. We appreciate it, because without you guys, we couldn't even do this. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for being on here. I think we're not going to be back on until the following Sunday, right? Because Wednesday, there's no games. There's nothing on Wednesday. It's just a complete off day. Is that right? We'll be back here Sunday.
Yeah. Well, wait, there's no need for the midweek check-in. There's nothing to check. But yeah, go ahead and keep watching the videos. There will still be some videos coming out. The schedule will be a little different this week, but not too much. But we'll definitely catch you next Sunday, and then it's like all systems go second half.
Stretch run, second half, baby. This is where champions are built. So get ready, enjoy the All-Star break, take a little breather, relax, but get ready and buckle up for that second half. All right, everybody, thanks for being on here. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live or drop new videos. We'll see you guys later.